Go ahead, Mike.
Okay, we'll just go ahead and get started.
Yes, the
Okay.
event has started.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Mike Lopez. I'm the Special Assistant to the Chief for the Audit Services Branch. And thank you for joining us this afternoon for our discussion of the enhancement of our commodity acceptance processes for poultry and egg products. Um, we decided that we needed to do a modernization of our acceptance procedures for, commodity purchases for food and nutrition assistance programs on the poultry and the egg product side. Uh, by what we mean by modernization is we're going to be moving from a continuous oversight to an audit-based verification. This is something that we do already in beef and pork items and has worked very well for us. So we're going to move that into the arena of poultry and egg products now. What we're trying to do here is we're going to try to reduce the burden on the vendors instead of having to, pay for a grader to be there full time. You're going to produce these products just like you do commercial spec items. You're going to have our specs, you're going to run it yourselves, and then we will audit you on usually a monthly basis to do our acceptance of those products. We still expect the high performance products that you've been providing us. It's just going to be a little bit of a change on the oversight uh, side of things. We're very cognizant that some of you also do further processing and second contract, as well as having graders in your facilities to do commercial spec items. We're going to take that into consideration and try to have a process where you will not have to have both audit services branch and grading services branch in your facilities and do double billing in that way. Uh, we're not quite there as far as how we're going to do that, but we are aware of it. We're looking at that, and we're going to come up with some solutions for those of you that are in those types of situations. As I said, I'm kind of leading this project, but I'm working very closely with Standard and Specification Division as well as Grading Services Branch. We got a really good team to get this thing going, um, and thank them for all the efforts that they've done so far. So with that, well, a couple of housekeeping things. If you have any questions, you can go up to the Q&A icon and you can type in your questions and we'll address those at the end. Also, I will be putting my contact information in the chat. That's also available on the notice to the trade that went out. If you have any questions on the auditing side, in the future, as you're getting ready for these types of things, feel free to contact me at any time. So at this time, I'd like to introduce Anjanette Johnson with Standards and Specifications Division, and she's going to go over some of the details that we were just talking about. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. I'm Anjanette Johnson. I work with the Livestock and Poultry Standards and Specification Division. I work on all the commodity specifications that we use and develop for commodity purchase programs on the poultry and the egg side. And as Mike mentioned, I'll just cover a few of the updates of what we're going to look to do in making this enhancement. Okay. So just wanted to give a little bit of background, kind of how we've transitioned through the acceptance of poultry and egg. Historically, shell eggs and poultry have always been under AMS grading oversight, while egg products have been certified by FSIS. Maybe a few years ago, we went ahead and implemented something called the AMS options. So we opened that up for vendors to be able to make a selection between that full-time AMS grader oversight or the audit option with Mike's branch, audit services branch for oversight. And as he mentioned, we'll be transitioning all of our items over to all audit-based acceptance. Under those options, this will also include meat items as well. When we opened that up, we did have some folks who were using that grading option, for example, for canned beef or pork, and those will also be switching over to that audit-based acceptance. I also did want to reiterate what Mike said as far as like some of the things that will still be held under grading will be the shell eggs as well as bulk and some of our quality-based end items, such as like tray pack and other items where they have the grade for an item quality. So how we plan to implement this is to do it in phases. Initially, we're going to start off on all of our egg products and poultry items where vendors already use an audit-based system, maybe on another meat item, such as the canned again. We have some folks who may have been doing audit for the meat side and then adding a grader on the poultry side. And so we'll focus on those items such as canned strips where we have some of that overlap. That will be our first phase. And then in the next phase of those updates, we'll move to the remainder of our poultry and meat specifications and getting those updated as well. What that will look like is updating the specifications and the supplements. Primarily, we'll be looking to remove a lot of that grader specific language that's in both of those documents and gearing it more towards audit-based, looking at quality factors and having vendors describe to us in a technical proposal what those are. So we'll be updating both of those documents and then we'll be sharing them out to industry for review. And then we would expect that within a 6-month period for first phase that we'll start working with you to update those technical documents so that we can switch you over. Another note that I did want to make is that this modernization primarily covers first contract direct deliver commodity items. Our second contract and further processing will still continue to be under a grader-based oversight. As Mike mentioned, we do have some other pilots going on our grader side that will allow us to do a similar audit-based system. And so as we're working through some of those options, that will likely become available on the first and second contract items as we continue with our pilots and modernizations. Another note that I wanted to make was just the raw material requirements. We currently have a grading requirement for some of those, and we'll be switching that to be audit-based verified as well, and using certificates of conformance to verify those raw materials that are going into our first contract items. So I just wanted to talk really quickly about what audit-based oversight looks like for us. It's production and processing verification conducted through routine audits according to your own technical proposal to our requirement. You will be required to submit a sample and a technical proposal, and that will need to be approved prior to being eligible to bid. We just wanted to give a few highlights of what that timeline might look like while you're switching over. So generally, once you submit a product sample, we usually take about a week to review and give you a formal response back on that. Technical proposals, we usually estimate up to 2 weeks for that initial review phase, and we'll provide you feedback, and it'll be a little bit of a back and forth process to get that document up to date and make sure it meets the requirements. And then outside of those 2 items, there is a pre-bid capability audit. So once that technical proposal is approved, we'll give it over to Mike's branch and his team will do a pre-bid capability audit to your approved technical proposal, just ensuring that what we've approved is functional in plant. And we estimate with scheduling that's usually about 4 weeks. And then once you're awarded a product, there'll be production audits while you're in production. Another thing that we just wanted to flag too, I know that we might have some newer folks here that may not have participated with us before, but we just wanted to highlight as well that the food defense program is still part of the pre-approval requirements. That's going to be you submitting an operational food defense plan outlining security for your plant's production processes. And that includes storage and transportation of raw materials, ingredients, and finished products. Once you have that plan and application submitted to us, we will do that food defense audit, and those are required to be done annually. Once that is completed, you'll also need to maintain that program on file in your facility for those audits for us to review. There is a link here where you're able to just get some additional details too about that requirement. All right, so just want to talk a little bit about technical proposals and what we're looking for. So the technical proposal is going to be a detailed quality manual that indicates how the requirements will be met. They're written in a plan, do, check, act format. We do currently have some additional details on this on our website through the supplements, and we'll give you this outline or exhibit that helps you work through the information that you're going to be providing to us. Just as a quick example, this would be how you would write a line in your technical proposal. But one of our requirements, for example, is domestic origin, that all products sold to USDA are 100% domestic. And so in your technical proposal, when you write it in Plan, Do, Check, Act, you'll be focusing on, for example, here, Plan, Do, your egg company will produce the product from only domestically sourced flocks. Your check will be that you will maintain source flock records and verify with each shipment all birds are produced domestically. And this will be made available to the USDA officials. And then your action that you're going to take will be that if domestic eggs are imported from a facility, that the company would maintain a segregation plan. So through all the requirements of the specification that we're updating and using, this will be how you format your technical proposal. That's all the slides that I had as far as the technical side of getting that updated. I know that there will probably be a lot of questions, especially as we update the specifications and the supplements, and just invite folks to please definitely reach out. I'm including my contact information here as well as Chad Brillhart, our Assistant National Poultry Supervisor, and Jeff Hendricks, who's the National Shell Egg and Poultry Supervisor. Mike, did you have anything else to add before we open up for questions?
No, not at this time. Like I said, I did put my contact information in the chat. So if you have any questions on anything pertaining to the audits and how those would occur, feel free to contact me, and I'll be happy to discuss that with you.
Can you hear me, Anjanette and Mike?
Yes.
We do have one question in the chat from Brian. If we have 24-hour commitment for the AMS graders, can we just do it the way we do it with AMS graders currently, rather than doing audit-based for turkey taco, for instance?
You want me to take that, Anjanette?
If you want, or I can chime in.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, like I said, there's some things that we're going to have to look at going forward, not just this, but, we're looking at modernizing our grading as well. So there's some different things that may occur there. At this time, though, it is going to be an audit-based model. So even if a grader performs the audit portion of it, they're not going to be doing the continuous oversight there, thank you, of the product themselves, but they would, on our behalf, come in and do, audit that area when it is necessary. Do you have anything to add to that, Anjanette?
Yeah, I would just add that I would work with you just to develop the technical requirements, part of that, to Mike's point, and make sure that your program meets what we're doing still under that specification. And to his point, even with maybe like the pilot for grading, if a grader does the audit, you still would only have the one service, but we would still use a document that you generated to help us make sure we verify. Just like another point is just currently under grading, we're using our own instructions to do that under full grading oversight, but with that audit-based model, we'll use your document then to verify.
Perfect, thank you. We also have an additional question from Brian. What will happen if we switch to audit grading and make the product, ship the product, and then you come back and have a finding and the product is already in the market?
Sure.
Okay, I can take that one. So when we do these audits, we're not going to be retaining product unless there is a condition, problem, or that it's dangerous to the end user. If it's a quality issue or something like that, you'll get a nonconformance. Nonconformances go up to Anjanette, and she'll review those, and you'll have to do corrective action addressing that. Okay, so it's shipped. Yes, it's out there. you had, some issues, you just have to fix those issues. So going forward, you don't have them anymore. That's kind of how we address that. So unless it's a condition problem, uh, you know, then we would ask you not to ship that product. If we find it, when we're on site, we do not retain product like graders do. Okay. But otherwise, if it's a minor nonconformance, you will address the issue, do a corrective action, and then we'll verify that on the next audit.
Thank you for that. I don't see any additional questions, so please at this time, if you have any questions, go ahead and type them in the Q&A box. Just to
Okay.
buy ourselves a little bit of time, can you go back, Anjanette, on the slide with your contact information so that everybody can see that? All right, again, if there are no additional questions, that is the contact information where Anjanette can be reached. Mike did include his contact in the chat, so hopefully that went through. And we will also make the slides available at the end of this session.
Okay, thank you, everybody. And if there's no further questions, we'll go on. And like I said, feel free to contact us if you have any questions about anything, and we'll help you through the process. Thank you very much.